Hello again from your Resaleworld support team. This is a video covering how to gather end-of-the-year reports for your store. Important data can be grabbed at the end of the year pertaining to your store. These reports can definitely assist you with the tax season. Your accountant or CPA will probably prefer that you use the QuickBooks link since this outputs all accounting information in a format they are familiar with, but this is the next best thing. It is very important that you run the following reports as close to the end of the year. Specifically, on the end of day December 31st or the beginning of the day on January 1st. This is because reports are dynamic, always looking at the current data, and not a snapshot in time. There is a report that can help you if you happen to miss this date, but it is having to calculate the data to try and come up with what your numbers looked like for a day in the past. It would not be as accurate as if you ran the reports on the proper end of the year date. This video assumes you have ran reports before in Liberty. If you have not ran reports before, please click on the link above to view the video on how to use the Liberty Reports module. For everyone else, the first report we are going to want to start with is the Sales Detail Report. We want to click on the Reports button located at the top of your Inventory module. When we open the Reports module, we always start at the End of Day Reports category. From here, we want to click on the Sales Detail Report. We can now clear all the criteria that is on this report. Next, we want to click the Add More Criteria button. Want to make sure we add the criteria for sales/posted date, and then set the drop-down filter for this year. This will automatically fill in the date range for the current year. If you are running the reports on January 1st, then you are going to want to run it for last year. For this report, we also only want the last summary page that contains all the totals for the year. We do this by making sure that Suppress Detail Info, Suppress Group Header, and Suppress Group Footer are all checkmarked. Now we can preview this report. With this year-end summary page, we are going to see all the sales data we have taken in for the year. This includes the total price of the inventory you have sold, item fees you have collected, total cost of goods sold for consignment, purchased, retail and store-owned inventory, total for refunded sales, totals for all fees and coupons, and total money collected by payment. We will also see our total tax that is due for the store. There can be more than one tax line item depending on what state you are in. One important thing to note about cost of goods sold is, this is a sales number and not an obligation number. When you pay out whoever is owed money, this number will not decrease. It basically would give you an idea of how much you owed your consignors for the time span if they all came to the store to collect their obligation. In the case of store-owned inventory and retail inventory, this shows you what your cost was to obtain this inventory. To get your profit, simply subtract the cost of goods sold from your price sold. This report can be recalled digitally, anytime, and is one of the reports that is not dynamic in the data it displays. It will stay the same no matter when you run this report. The next report we are going to look at is the total amount of available inventory that your database says you have in the store. It is important to note that inventory reconciliation is an important process to do in order to make this report as accurate as possible. The Inventory Reconciliation Program is a separate application you can purchase from Resaleworld, along with special inventory scanners. This process allows you to do a complete inventory of your store for the purpose of making sure your database matches exactly what you physically have in the store. For more information on this, please contact Resaleworld at 1-800-785-4800. To run this report, go to the Inventory category, then select the Item Description by Account Report. There is some important criteria we are going to need to add to this report to get the information that we want. Close out any criteria you currently have in the report, and then click on the Add More Criteria button. We will need the item status, which will allow us to filter specifically for available inventory and nothing else. We will also need the item process date criteria. Once these options are selected, click the OK button. Click the drop-down next to Item Status and select it as Option. Then click the three dots and make sure that only the available option appears in the right side column. Click the OK button. Now, for item received, select last year or this year depending on when you were running the report. This is another report we want to make sure all the suppression options are checkmarked. Now you can click the Preview button. This summary page will show you how many accounts had available items, how many line items were available, how much quantity was on hand for these line items, what the total price of the available inventory is, and finally, what the total cost of available inventory there is. Grouped together, we next have some profit reports. These reports help you to easily see what the gross profit was for brand, category, and section. We are going to run one report from this group to show you how this process looks like. Click on the sales category, then click on Profit by Brand. Clear out all criteria and then click on Add More Criteria. Make sure to add date sold/posted and then add brand. For the other reports, you will want to add the category or section criteria respectively. Once done, click the OK button. You can change the suppression options to fit just how much detail you want. For this example, I'm going to run the report fully unsuppressed. Here we can see information about brands that helps us determine what exactly is giving our store the most value. Key numbers on this report are the number of days it took to sell an item, price sold, how much coupon value was put towards the item, any item fees that were collected for the item, gross profit, and your profit margin percentage. Depending on the suppression options you used, you can also set the report to just display a total per brand. Rounding out our sales reports, we have some sell-through/productivity reports. These productivity reports can be ran for category, brand, and accounts. To get to these reports, click on the Analysis category and then click on either the Category Productivity Report, the Brand Productivity Report, or the Account Productivity Report. For this example, we are going to use the Category Productivity Report. Here, the date criteria gives us more options based on either when the inventory was entered into the software or when the item sold. You can also narrow down category levels if you want to see just individual items, a particular section, or a particular department. Just like with the profit reports, we can set the suppression options based on how much detail we want in our report. Once you're finished, click on the Preview button. For this report, we can see of the categories pulled by our date criteria, what percentage of inventory was sold, expired, returned to consignor, or donated. What percentage of this inventory is still available along with what the average profit was and what were the average number of days it took to sell something out of a specific category. This set of productivity reports are very powerful and can help you analyze what category, brand, or account is doing very well. The next report is the Total Obligation Report. This report is also known as the Accounts Payable Report. This shows you exactly how much money you owe including consignors and purchase/buy outright customers. For this report, we want to close out all the criteria that exists on the report. There is only one criteria we want, and that is the transaction date criteria. For this criteria, we want to make sure it is set to all. This is because at the end of the year, we want to completely gather all available obligation that is due, up to today's date. We also want to make sure that all the suppression options are again checkmarked. Now, preview the report. Here we can see the number of accounts we have obligation for, along with the total amount of obligation owed. The other side of obligations is what we actually paid out for the year. To get to this report, click on Check/Payout Detail Report within the same Payouts and Transactions category. Clear all criteria out and add more criteria. Then, make sure that the payout date criteria is selected and click the OK button. For this report, on the suppression options, we want to make sure both Suppress Detail Info and Suppress Group Footer are checkmarked. This allows us to get the account name along with checks that were written without getting the item details for each check. Go ahead and preview the report now. On this report, we will see the first name, last name, check number, check date, status of the check, how many items were in the check, and the payout amount. The next report we want to run is for the total amount of store credit that has been used through the point of sale. For this, we navigate to the Satisfied Obligations report. Clear all criteria on this report view, and then click on Add More Criteria. We want to make sure to add payout date, as well as payment account, and then click OK when you are finished. For payout date, You want to select this year or last year depending on when you are running the report. Then, for Payment Account, make sure this is set to Is, then click the three dots button and move Store Credit over to the right column. Same as before, we want to make sure all suppression options are checkmarked, and then click the Preview button. Now we can see a total for Store Credit dollar amount used in the point of sale towards purchases. In the event that you are past the end of the year and you need to get the total number of available inventory and your total obligation, we do have a special report you can run that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. To get to this report, go to the Analysis category of reports and then click on the Historical Inventory and Obligation Report. There definitely are some caveats to this report as we have to do calculations to get you as close to the totals for the reference point in time as possible. There is only one criteria we need to look at for this report, and it is called historical totals. The drop-down should read start of day, and we want to make sure we always set this to January 1st of the current year. We do not need to worry about suppressing any information. We are just going to preview the report. On this report, we get the total available inventory for consigned, purchased, store-owned, and retail inventory. This also totals out the price of available said inventory, as well as the cost of the available inventory at that point in time. All of these line items are also combined together to give you an overall total. This report will also give you your total obligation for client accounts and store accounts for that point in time. It is not a bad idea to read the important note at the bottom of the report as it states that figures stated in the report represent a calculated reconstruction of inventory and obligation data from an earlier date based on records entered into your database. These that can affect these totals are voided sales, voided items, deleted payouts, and replenishing an item. Of course, incorrect data being entered into your database can also affect the outcome of this report. You should now have the key end-of-the-year reports that you need. These reports represent the most common end-of-year reports that stores run. There may be other reports that you may need. Please feel free to submit a ticket to the Resaleworld support department using your support plan and the support widget located on your inventory module dashboard. This was a video on how to gather end-of-year reports for your store.